Hey there. Good morning, ladies. Happy Monday.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is
Good
day.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Day 4 of our detox challenge, of our 30-day detox challenge. So I'm excited to get connected with you all and find out what's been going on over the weekend. I saw some very encouraging posts in the Facebook group, which was awesome. So today, here's what we're going to do. We are going to focus on a few things. Let me pull up my notes here. We're going to start to delve into how to reframe and retrain your brain. Last time we were together on Saturday, we talked about the different characters that show up to tempt you, and some of those were the tempter or temptation, is what I call them, the rationalizer or rationale. We've got the food fornicator, who's the cheater. We've got the binger, who is the emotional eater and is looking for food to be a painkiller. And then the crisis caller, which is, oh my gosh, so much is happening. It's overwhelming that I have to quit and I can't detox, right? We know that that's not true. So I'm going to check in today and we're going to find out where you are on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being I have stayed on plan and I have followed it to the T, all the way down to 1, which is I fell completely off of the wagon and I need to get back up today. So before we check in, though, I do want to tell you some things that are pretty normal for this point in the detox. We are on day 4. Usually around day 3, day 4, if you are following the detox pretty well, you're going to notice that you might feel a little bit headachy, maybe just a little less energized than normal. And I want to reassure you that's very normal. It usually happens one day in those first 5 days. And yesterday was my day. I wasn't really headachy, but I kind of woke up feeling a little bit depleted, and I could tell that the toxins were coming out of my body because, of course, I got the little thing on my face. I've also found that when you're detoxing, if you have pierced ears, you notice that toxins start to come just kind of creep out of your ear holes, which is interesting. If you squeeze them, you feel a little bit of, that toxicity is trying desperately to get out of your body because your body's making room for the healthy that you're bringing in, and it's wanting to get out the yucky. So we're going to go ahead and do our check-in scale of 1 to 5. You are also welcome to share if you've dropped some pounds. You're welcome to share that just for accountability and also to encourage the other ladies. So I'm going to start with Brandy.
I knew it. So, ladies, in full transparency and vulnerability, today is day 1 for me. Because of what my calendar looked like and not knowing exactly what I was saying yes to when I showed up to this call last week, Angie, I had to get through the weekend and I had to go yesterday to the store and prep my week. Okay. So today is day 1.
All right. Well, congratulations that you're starting. So good job. I'm glad that you're having liftoff and you're not like.
I'm so excited. When I left the call last Thursday and looked at my calendar, I was like, I had 2 meetings that were food meetings Friday. I was with family all day for my mom's birthday Like I just knew I was setting myself up to fail, to try to start then instead of just waiting till today where I could control the environment better.
Yeah. And you only fail when you quit, right?
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter. So thank you for transparency. I'm pulling for you today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Me too. All right, Irma Riddick.
So Irma Riddick, yesterday was a great day. I was a 5. as I said, I think I posted on Saturday. Uh, I was probably a 3. My timing was really off. Um, and I actually skipped one meal. So,
Okay.
but I am down 4.9 pounds. So we're going to truck it on along the rest of the week.
All right. Very good. Irma Reddick, thank you for sharing. All right, let's hear from Cookie.
Well, I, good morning to all of you, but I stayed on course. I want to say, when we went Friday, when we went on in the breakout rooms, and I was sharing with Catherine the challenges I was facing on Friday, she was like, you got to think about yourself. You got to do it, and you should do this. And then, of course, I'm always going back to Irma, and she was like, okay, well, they may have green beans. They may have the food that you can eat where I went to a funeral and a repast. And well, they had shrimp, but they did not have any green beans, any vegetables, period, really. And they had apples. So then that's what I had to do, was the shrimp and the apples. And I was a little off on my time because we didn't get back to the building until maybe a little after 12. So I was a little off on my time, but I stuck with it all weekend. Yesterday was really good, but I have not seen that 4.9 that my cousin is saying she dropped. No, I haven't seen that. But in all fairness, I did not. She had to remind me, you got to weigh yourself every day. So, okay, I'll report in once I see some pounds dropping, because I didn't weigh myself like I should have. But that was really the only issue I had.
Okay. And I'm going to share some reasons why we don't drop the pounds here in just a moment. As I was listening to you, you were giving me clues as to what's happening. So I'm going to hold on to that till we check in with everybody else, and then I'll share some of those things. Okay. All right, let's go. Oh, so I see Carol Cox, you're not able to talk. You're giving yourself a 4. You're doing good on the water. So your meal was off by 1 and you've lost a pound. All right, well, congratulations for that pound. Good job. All right, Michelle Callan. You may have stepped away, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Amanda Gleason.
Good morning, ladies.
Morning.
I did pretty good this weekend. I was down between Friday and Saturday morning, but no, Sunday morning I was down. This morning I was the same. I did eat a little off plan, mostly adding in additional vegetables, so nothing too crazy. So I know that's probably why I'm the same today. We did a lot of physical work on Saturday, so that made me want to eat more.
Yeah.
But overall, I did pretty good because I felt depleted after I came in. So,
Yeah.
I had an apple at like 4, so I didn't go and eat something I shouldn't have, but I think I just needed it. Anyway, but I'm doing good.
Okay, great. And that brings up something else that I'm going to talk about, reasons we don't drop, and some things that can have an impact on us while we're trying to do the detox that may cause us to going into plateau.
What I need is tips on how to avoid, and I'm sorry, ladies, I have to say this word, constipation.
Okay.
It happens terribly to me whenever I go through detox.
Yeah, and that may be showing up for you right now. So I will say that there are certain foods that tend to make that happen. The broccolis, the cauliflowers, those kind of bulky vegetables may do it for you. And so it may be that you need to change out your vegetable, whatever that is. So sometimes green beans will do that to you. But you can, if you can, so you do have the ability and you do have the okay to have Miralax, which will help that to move out. Miralax will, it won't, it's not going to hinder your process, but it will help move things along. If
What
you,
about Metamucil?
Cookie, I'm sorry, what?
What about Metamucil?
Um, let's see. Let me just double check on something with that.
Okay. Okay.
I do already take a supplement every day, so maybe I'll add the Miralax to what I'm doing.
Right.
See if that helps.
So I would say that Miralax is the more natural and on plan choice to go. Cookie, I would say I would
Okay,
try,
I could try that.
honestly,
Miralax. Okay.
Miralax, yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so thanks for sharing that, Amanda. All right, Pam Robbins, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm down another, I think a 1.6. I have a total of 6.8 off.
Okay.
And the only thing I did yesterday was I missed a protein, and I had 4 bites of my little grandson's whipped white cake for his birthday. That was really it. I just didn't get my protein in.
Okay.
And yeah. And I I was doing really good, and it's just I gave in.
Okay, so you just got to get back up. Just like I said,
Yeah.
failure only happens when you quit. So keep pressing on and pressing in.
Yes.
Okay, so ladies, the number one thing that drives us to eat is our emotions. Our emotions are so complex and tied to everything that we do. I mean, just like Pam was talking about, when you go to a birthday, or Brandy, you go to a birthday, you were celebrating a birthday. What have we been trained? What's the pre-existing condition? That you have cake on the birthday. And so that gets tied to, I got to have cake in order to belong, right? So it's these mindsets that and pre-existing conditions that keep us tied emotionally to food. And that's where our mantra comes in, that food is for fuel. Food is for fuel. That's the mantra that we want to keep telling ourselves, even when you've given into that cake. When you're eating that cake, don't just kind of fall back and say, well, I'm a victim to the cake. You're not a victim to the cake. You are
Right.
You simply have to say, I'm the boss of this food. No matter how it looks, I'm going to declare this. I'm going to speak life into this. And food is for fuel. So I'm saying that to all of us. I had probably one of the most stressful weekends I've had in a long time. And I'm telling you that the emotional factor is so strong.
Yeah.
It's so strong, and it can cause you, it can cause you to drop off in just a second. I'm happy to say that I'm a veteran of this, and I've learned the tricks of the enemy. I've learned how our mind plays tricks on us and tells us the big lie, which is what we talked about on Saturday. The big lie is there's too much going on to focus on this right now. Those distractions and all of those emotional volatile situations that pop up. And this can be extreme joy and extreme happiness, all the way down to extreme distress. All of these are the direct enemy of our success when we're trying to manage our food. It's not to say, now, what I'm not saying is that you should never be joyful. What I'm saying is that we have to separate joy and happiness from food. We've learned to bring them together synonymously when actually joy, it's an emotional state, and we have reinforced that with food. So we've got to reframe the way that we're looking at food and the way that we're thinking about food. And it is very emotional. And so the moment that we just start realizing that, say, hey, my emotions right now are dictating that I eat this. And the realization is that no, that does not make sense. It could be, we talked about the crisis caller. Remember, the crisis caller is the one that's like, oh my gosh, it's too much. I can't handle it. There's a crisis. But and then the procrastinator will even come in and say, well, I'll just start this later. I'll just do this later. And then later never comes, or we never quite get on board, and it's a wobbly ride, right? So we've got to retrain our brain to think differently, because here's the truth of the matter. We have food fibs and food fairy tales that are coming at us. And those are just flat out lies. They're not representing the full truth of things. I mean, food fibs are, like, it's okay that you have this right now. This really isn't going to hurt you. Skipping a meal isn't going to hurt you. Well, let me tell you, you have a security guard inside of you that has a reception desk and who's monitoring all of the food that you're eating or not eating. And if your security guard thinks that you're trying to trick it, or your body thinks that you're depriving yourself, you're not on a regular, consistent schedule of eating, women's bodies will automatically take that next meal and store it as fat, no matter what it is, even if it's lettuce. Even if it's the purest detox meal ever, it's going to take that and store that as fat, as insurance that you're not going to go hungry. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen to men's bodies, but our bodies are designed so differently. And especially after you turn 40, it's like a double whammy in our bodies. Our body wants to know that we're going to feed it consistently. And if we're not, then you may see a temporary drop, but that missing of the meal, it is going to come back. It's going to come back, and it's going to cause your weight on the scale to fluctuate. And then here's where a food fib will come in. Oh, well, you didn't eat that meal, so you can add some more to this meal to make up for that. That is a food fib. That is, you don't want to follow that line of thinking, because it will, it opens up the door for you to overeat, and then you get even more discouraged as you're looking at the scales. So here are some other reasons why we don't drop the pounds. We know that in following the detox, timing is important. We talked about that we need to have 4 consistent meals. And so when we are significantly off on our timing, then our body doesn't like that. It's that security guard. If you imagine that there's that security guard, he's antsy about that. Oh, she's not on time with her food. That means that we're probably going to have to store whatever's next as fat. This is actually what is happening in your body. Everything that you do and don't do has a chemical reaction. So another reason we we don't drop the pounds is we have either too much or too little food. So that's a good reason to post your food in the Facebook group so that we can gauge that. And if you remember what I said about the portion size, if you're doing the regular, we're following the 60-day plans, your protein is the size of your hand, and then your vegetables are 2 cups or less. So the more aggressive plan requires you to measure your protein to be 3.5 ounces and then your 2 cups of vegetables. So you see that timing and portion size, those are 2 of the most common reasons why you see you see weird things happening on the scales. In terms of the timing also, this is a problem I had yesterday. I've stuck to the plan, but yesterday I was so exhausted because we've been volunteering for the divisional swim meet all weekend. I was exhausted. I ate and I could only stay awake 1 hour after I ate, and I had to go to bed. And so this morning I was up about 5 ounces as a result of that. So my body didn't have enough time to digest what I was eating. And so, that was the result of it. So other reasons why you don't drop the pounds, you've got hidden flavors or ingredients that are in the foods that you're eating. So sometimes with canned meats and canned vegetables, you see additives added to that. Let's see. Also, mixing the wrong things. So Cookie, as you were talking about your protein and apples. Protein, and so fruit and proteins are not friends. They don't play well together. So one of the reasons why we have our fruit in the morning and fruit in the afternoon, and we have it separated from our meals, because those two, when you mix those two together, it basically puts a stymie to your weight loss, because they're enemies. They don't play well together. And they, in some cases, depending on what fruit you have, like if you have blackberries or the berries and you mix that with a protein, at best, it causes a neutral effect. So you're not going to drop when you eat that, but when the chemicals collide in those, they just don't like each other. They don't digest well together, and they don't process well together. So some other things that can get in the way: supplements, if you're taking supplements, if you're taking pills or medicines. Now, if you are on a prescription, don't stop taking that prescription by any means. I would never recommend that you do that. But just know that if you are on medication, that it is going to slow the process. It's going to slow it down, because this whole detox is about simplicity. It's simplifying what you eat, minimizing the number of ingredients that you have so that your body can go ahead and process things out. The more complexity we add, the harder it is to drop weight. So just an FYI on that. Also, alcohol, it totally thwarts your effort to drop weight in the long run. Cheating, when you have cheats, you can just expect that it's going to come back to bite you. You may not see it on the scale the next day, but you will see it, because it takes your body a little bit of time, extra time, to process refined sugar and sweets, complex carbs. That stays in your system a lot longer than vegetables and so forth. So just be aware of that. If you're adding Truvia or stevia, like you're sweetening up you're sweetening up your coffee or whatever, if you have too much of that, it will cause things to just kind of stop. So you want to be mindful of just doing that at the bare minimum. Every once in a while, we do see somebody who they are struggling with environmental allergies. I think about Lydia Armstrong. She's a great example of this. When you have a lot of allergies, going through the detox, all of the foods that you've eaten that are what we call cross-reactive foods, we'll talk about that on another day. But those foods, when they're coming back up in your detox, they cause inflammation. And so you may not see in the short term the weight dropping off, but if you stay consistent with the plan, it will come off. So those that have those environmental allergies, I'm one of those. I have a lot of environmental allergies. So I know what I can eat and I know what I need to stay away from, even when certain things are on the plan, like mushrooms. I'm deathly allergic to mushrooms and I have an anaphylactic response to those. But anything that's mold based, even if it's on the plan, I can't eat it because it causes inflammation and I jump up on the scales. Another reason why you may not be dropping is because, like Amanda mentioned, you're doing a lot of physical exertion. During this part of the detox, these first 11 days, we want to keep our exercise just at a very basic level. It's just routine physical activity. I mean, you can go for a leisurely walk, that's absolutely fine. But when you're out there and you're huffing it, you have to remember that we're not consuming as many calories as we're used to. As a matter of fact, we're consuming probably half or maybe even 75% less calories. We're not starving, but the food that we're eating, it's just enough. It's just enough for our daily routine. So when you do a lot of physical activity, of course, you're going to be your body is actually going to be hungry and you're also going to be very vulnerable. And so you're going to reach for anything. Your body's going in survival mode and you're going to reach for anything that you can get your hands on. And so that can get in our way. All right. So, and then also not moving around enough. If you're completely sedentary, you're not moving, you're probably still going to drop some weight, but not as much as you could. So I do recommend, even if you just get up and you walk around, you get up from your chair and walk around for 5 or 10 minutes just to shake it up a little bit. That's going to be helpful for you. So I want to check in with everybody to see what comments or questions you have about the reasons why we don't drop. I see here, Michelle, our smoke detectors are going off. Okay, gotcha. All right, what questions do you have? Questions or comments? Or even those of you who have been on the detox before, you can attest to some of these things that I've shared with you.
Yes, I attest to these. But I was going to suggest something. I don't think these ladies have said it, but the last challenge we did, we said we would bring a bottle of water so we can get our water intake. So
Yes.
bring a bottle of water to the call, and at least you get one bottle down.
Yes.
But the too much or the too little foods is definitely one of the culprits.
Yeah.
Or mixing food because you ran out of whatever you had for lunch, for dinner.
Yeah. And I would say, so I think about cookie situation where you just had the protein, the shrimp and the apples. You do have a couple of alternatives in that situation. Like if you had the apples, you could just switch your meals. So it's not the ideal thing to do, but instead of going apple, your protein and veggie, then your apple, then protein and veggie. If you needed to switch, let's say that you had well, in your case, you really didn't know, but if you know what's going to happen, you could actually switch those meals, just keep them consistent. And if worse comes to worse, if you're at a place and there are no veggies whatsoever, go ahead and just eat the protein. At least get that in you. It's not going to have, you're putting something in your body, and it's not and it's simple. It's not fighting against like the apples, right? So I've seen some plates, and sometimes throughout this challenge, I've seen ladies really load up their plates, and I'm like, that's more than a handful of size. So you gotta be mindful of the portion size. I really love that AI, how when I raise my hand, it makes me raise my hand. All right, anybody else have any comments, thoughts about what I've shared with you? So one thing I want to leave you with, I want to give you some first aid today, because we need to get through these first 11 days, and this is going to determine how everything else happens later on in the 60-day cycle. So we've got to retrain our brains to stop feeling hungry. And I guarantee that 90% of the time, at least, you are actually not hungry, starving hungry to where you would eat anything. You've been trained. You've been trained to think that you're hungry at that certain time and for certain things. So when you start becoming particular about what you want to eat, I mean, true hunger, it doesn't matter. If your body is in survival mode, it's going to eat whatever comes along your path. But we got to start doing some interventions. And one of the best interventions that you can do is when you start feeling that your mind is hungrier than your body, get a pinch of salt, put it on your tongue, and hold it there as long as you can. And let that salt soak into your taste buds. It will send a signal to your brain that, oh, you've gotten something in your body, you're no longer hungry. You've got to let that salt soak. So that's a very simple way to combat that. If you're hungry, also say, all right, I'm going to drink some water first. I'm going to go ahead and drink some water, and just respond to the fact that my body wants something, but I'm going to give it something that's healthy for me. Preparation, I would say the number one reason why we jump off plan, other than the emotional binging that we do, is because we've not planned. We don't have our food together, and so we just reach for whatever's convenient. So preparation is key. And then the other thing is if you absolutely have to have something, you can have a dill pickle, one, or up to 3 of the little petites to just tide you over. So what I've realized is that not all pickles are made alike. There are some that have a heavy sugar content, and so I can't remember the brand name. You just want to look and see if those pickles, you're going to do better if you get organic pickles, because most of those, they don't put refined sugar in those. But you want to try the other things first before you dig into pickles. I know that Jesus and pickles has saved a lot of women in this group.
Hey, Angie.
Yeah.
The brand that I use is the Vlasic. It says Vlasic. It says purely pickles.
Yeah.
Okay. It has no sugar, none.
Awesome. Yeah. So Vlasic. All right. Sounds good. All right, ladies. Well, so I want to encourage you today to stay the course. I want you to start fighting back, start retraining your brain, start reframing the way that you're looking and thinking about food. And we'll come back tomorrow and find out how you're doing. We will check in with meal plans tomorrow to see what you're having during the week. It's 8:36, so I don't want to keep you any longer. But stay the course. We'll meet back tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then.
Thanks.
Great day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.